Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Battlefield 3 In-Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about heavy barrel, and I have to admit that before I did this episode, I didn't use heavy barrel very much. I was not a fan of it. I didn't like heavy barrel for several reasons that we're going to get into, mostly because I knew that it increased my vertical recoil, and I also never used the KH-2002 here, but after this episode, I ended up liking both this weapon and this attachment, and now let me tell you why. Well, first things first with the heavy barrel, the main benefit from this attachment is that you get a 50% increase in your damage drop over range. Battlefield works about the same as Call of Duty. Your bullets do a lot of damage at close range, but at a distance they start dropping off and it takes more and more shots to kill. Heavy barrel adds range to your weapon, so you get a 50% increase in that overall damage drop, which means you're going to be doing more damage over range, and this means you're going to have to shoot people less times when they're further away to kill them, which is a very, very good thing because you want to shoot people as few times as possible and make them die as quickly as possible. The next added benefit of the heavy barrel attachment is a little bit less straightforward. When aiming down sights, you're able to shoot 2 to 3 times more accurately, and what I mean by this is that Battlefield, unlike Call of Duty, unlike Counter-Strike, unlike most modern shooters, it doesn't use hit scans. It actually shoots bullets that have a weight and a speed and a drop and velocity and all these sort of things, and it also has an invisible set of crosshairs, such that when you're aiming down sights, it's essentially the same as hip firing, but your crosshairs are super, super tiny and the game makes them invisible. What heavy barrel does is it significantly tightens up these crosshairs, so they're very, very tight, and you get a lot less bullets going left, right, up, down, or directions that they shouldn't be going. It's a lot like having a bipod on your gun. It just makes your bullets very, very accurate. The last good thing about the heavy barrel attachment is that it increases bullet speed for several weapons. Yes, you heard me right, this increases bullet speed or muzzle velocity for several weapons. This is mostly for the engineering weapons, but we do have the G3A3 and the QBZ in there. Basically, some of these weapons had very, very low muzzle velocities, and the developers decided that they should make the heavy barrel attachment actually increase the muzzle velocity on these weapons so that your bullets travel faster, they hit people faster, you have to lead them less, they drop less, etc., etc. So on a lot of your engineering guns, the heavy barrel attachment will actually make your bullets travel faster, which can be very, very useful. Now that I've spent a few minutes telling you why the heavy barrel attachment is so great, let me tell you some of the things about it that are, let's say, somewhat less than great. The first thing that you're going to notice when you're using a heavy barrel attachment is that you get 10 to 15% increase in vertical recoil. This is kind of like the opposite of a flash suppressor. A flash suppressor will reduce your vertical recoil by 10 to 15%. This adds 10 to 15%, so it's kind of like an anti-flash suppressor. It kicks upward a lot more. I'd like to say that this has been reduced in recent patches because I seem to remember it being 20-30% being particularly bad, but 10 to 15% isn't so bad. You may or may not even notice it, but it's still there and it might mess you up a little bit at long ranges. One of the things the heavy barrel attachment shares in common with the Foregrip is that you'll get a 50% increase in hipfire spread. This is a bad thing. This means your bullets are less accurate when you're firing from the hip as opposed to normal when you don't have the heavy barrel attachment. As a guy that likes to spray and pray and hipfire a lot, this tends to screw me up more often than it should. I should be aiming down sights more, but I do like my hipfire spread, and this messes me up a bit. Alright, we've talked numbers long enough, let's talk strategy, and what you're probably getting ready to ask me right now is on what weapons is the heavy barrel best? And my answer is the heavy barrel is best on weapons with low vertical recoil, because as you've seen, the heavy barrel attachment adds vertical recoil to your weapon, and if you use weapons that just by their design have low vertical recoil, you may not notice it, or if you do notice it, it won't be too much. If you put it on weapons that do have very high vertical recoil, like an AEK or FAMAS or something like that, they're just going to kick into the sky and you won't be able to hit a damn thing. But if you take weapons like the KH-2002 here, or the L85, or maybe like the A91 or some weapons like that that don't have a lot of vertical recoil, you may not notice it, and if you do notice it, it won't be too bad at all. One of the other nice things about the Foregrip, I skipped ahead there a little bit, the heavy barrel attachment, is that it pairs very, very well with the grip. The grip gets rid of almost all of your side-to-side recoil, so when you're running heavy barrel and grip, you're only going to have to deal with that vertical recoil. You won't have to worry about it wobbling side to side very much. And one of the bad things about the grip that I slammed on the grip for is that it did terrible, terrible things to your aim down sights accuracy, but the heavy barrel completely cancels that out and then some, so it's still more accurate with the heavy barrel and grip than with neither of those attachments. So the grip is a decent attachment. What I'm doing right here is I knew the KH-2002 had low vertical recoil but had really bad side-to-side recoil, so what I did is I slapped on the heavy barrel and the grip, and it didn't wobble side to side hardly any, and I knew that it would kick up a little bit more, so I mostly aimed at knees and chest, and it tended to kick up toward the head and destroy people. That's how I use it. I hope you guys use it in a similar fashion. In the next episode, now that I'm finally done with the attachments, I'm going to be moving on and doing weapons, but I don't want to just do any weapons. I was thinking about doing, you know, special weapons, really awesome weapons, something like that. So if you have any weapon suggestions on something that you think is a special weapon that's better than all the others for some particular reason, write it down there in the comments. I'm going to read the comments and pick a weapon based on that. Drifter out.